Welcome to Self. It's been a few weeks. And I honestly have had every intention of recording this for the last exactly few weeks. Um, and life has actually been lifing. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in the best way, actually. There's been a lot of attention shift from me personally. There's been much more prioritization of my own self, my own needs, and I guess I'll just get started. So I've meditated, and I've been viewing meditation significantly different than I have in the past. I've viewed meditation as an attempt to be still, and in being still, just not thinking. And I'm not going to say I was doing it wrong. Everybody meditates differently with their own intention. My meditations recently have been about observing thoughts. My meditations recently have been about creating space. And when I say thoughts in space, I mean disengaging from the thoughts I have that are triggered by external stimuli. And when I say space, I mean creating the space between myself and the influence of other stimuli to my thoughts. That's what I mean. And in doing this, I recognize, even now, like as I thought the word touch, my nervous system, it ignites a bit. And this feeling to me tells me forward, go forward. I've recognized this sensation in my body over the years that when I have it, it's very synonymous to when someone's nervous or has anxiety, and then when there is excitement or anticipation. And it's the same exact sensation. Only thing is, I give it its meaning. It's meaning, not meeting. And the meaning that I've placed on this feeling means move forward. It's kind of like if you get triggered. You might be triggered into a flight, fight, freeze, fawn response, but I choose that forward response, which means to move forward and take what there is to learn from it. And so while lying down, meditating on my yoga mat, I recognized that I'd have a reaction to the word touch as the thought came up. Like as I thought touch, that was what sent the signal through my body. And it was then that I realized, I was like, yo, I'm touch deprived. And the feeling intensified. It was more intense when I thought touch deprived. And again, this is me just observing, what thoughts am I having? What's here? And I have received like a little bit of a nudge, so to speak, to listen to my body. And all these years, I thought that I've done a really good job of doing that and giving my body what it needs, exercising consistently. My mind, I've been reading, I've listened to podcasts, I've listened to audiobooks. I've done these things to feed my body and feed my mind. Yet, I've never really checked in to know what my body needs. I've always thought that I just needed sex, and that was something for me. Um, and I see it in a a much more broad spectrum than that, because lately I've been shifting intentions and challenging my relationship to sex. And by lately, I mean since August, July or August. Because I recall in July, that was when I stopped drinking. And I also, in that time, I got to see just how much I was able to accomplish by doing that. And so I started looking at other things. I was like, man, what else can I do? What else can I do? And after that time period, I think that I was left with a handful of things that I've observed about myself that I do want to go deeper in. One of them being meditation. One of them being disengaging so much from these external stimuli. And I've not been as active on social media or posting as much because I am prioritizing giving my body what it needs. I'm prioritizing just being able to shut those other voices off. And in doing so, it's like the clarity of what draws into me has been extremely, it's been much more consistent. It's much more consistent. And I'll share examples here soon. Um, I'm amazed with myself. I'm in awe of myself. And for so long, I've just not been. I've not looked at myself in the mirror. This is just a thing that I do. I know I'm attractive. I know that my body is, desirable. I know these things about myself. And I've just not looked in the mirror. And since really adjusting and giving my body what it needs, for instance, I've been eating a lot less sodium, and this means like not eating a lot of really delicious tasting food because it just doesn't have, I'm eating things that have way less salt in them. My body has been changing and responding to that like in a way that I didn't even know my body could respond. And I've shrunk. My body has shrunk. And in me eating less sodium, I'm eating more foods that I guess just have much more nutritional value in them. I'm cooking a lot more than I have in the past. I'm weighing out my food, and I'm recognizing that I'm actually full, long before I've really thought that I was. And at first, when starting this, I wasn't seasoning my food like at all. Like, I was trying to minimize the sodium, and I was so like, eating with a frowny face or whatever. But now, I've been measuring things. I've been measuring the amount of salt that I cook with. I've been measuring out the seasonings and the sauces that I put on things, because that's really been an issue for me is the sauces. And my midsection has shrunk significantly. I had to buy a new belt. I'm wearing a large shirt now. I'm wearing large pants now, whereas I've been historically like an XL has been a little bit too small. And I'm liking this. I really am. I'm liking how my body is responding to me, giving it what it's been probably asking for forever, y'all. I have been like waking up in the middle of the night to pee. I've been having to nap in the middle of the day. And my body was saying something to me. My body was like, hey, we need things to be different. And it took for, a doctor's warning to put me on medication before I decided, all right, I'm going to do this. But it happened. And I remember I was hovering around 250 pounds consistently up until this summer, where I was sort of stuck at the 240 to 245 range. And then, making that commitment to go less sodium took me to a new level. I got down to at least the lowest that I've weighed since high school, 224 pounds right now. Or I'm like up and down but I'm out of the 230s. I'm in 224 to 228 when I step on the scale, and that's with clothes on. So it's great. And not to say that weight loss was my goal, but listening to my body was the goal. And that intention shift and the prioritization, it's making me more attractive to myself. Like, I'm looking in the mirror a lot more. Like, not to say that I've just like not found myself to be attractive before, but it's like that shift of intention also did something for me energetically that just so happens to radiate through the body. Like, my body has to respond to the energy output. And I have a football coach from college. He used to always say, the mind follows the body follows the mind. You think you're tired, but you got a lot more left in the tank than you think you do. And that, to me, has evolved into your behaviors reflect your beliefs, and your beliefs reflect your behaviors. The body is a tool for expressing behavior. And then, the thoughts that we have, the feelings that we have, like, those are things that impulsively sort of drive us, if you will. And so I've been really paying attention to that. I've been paying attention to my body and what it's doing and what I'm putting in it, and not like what I'm giving it to so freely, because I've given my body away. And I know I sound like a woman, talking like this, but that's the reality, man. I can do that shit too. So freely give away my body and give away, the energy that comes through this body. And honestly, not experience it myself. I had a few therapy sessions over the last few weeks because I meet with my therapist weekly. And one thing we talked about was this touch deprivation thing. And he said, I know this is going to sound weird. I was like, at this point, man, nothing you say sounds weird. But he said, do you touch yourself the ways that you want or like to be touched? And I was like, it's a ridiculous question because I can't touch myself like on my back, right? And it's stupid for me to just like sit here and rub my hip or the areas that I really like to be touched. I mean, it's not the same. I know where I like to be touched. I know how I like to be touched. I know these kinds of things. He asked me, I was like, well, yeah, but not in, the places. Like, I like back rubs. I like for like this little area of my hips to be touched. I'm gonna sit down and while I'm masturbating, just like rub my neck. I can't kiss my own neck. Like, I don't have the texture of my hands to touch my body and give myself the sensations that I want to give myself. Like, a woman's soft hands and touch in these places feels way different than my man hands. I got deadlift hands. I used to put floors in. My hands are not soft and silky and smooth. Like, and then using the back of my hands, like I'm doing it now, and I don't want to feel no knuckle. But these are all things that, I mean, these are important. You should know how you like to be touched and touch yourself in these ways so that you can communicate this to somebody else when you do want to be sexual with them. Going back to the meditations. The meditations taught me that I'm touch deprived now. I did this exercise for myself where I wrote down, because again, intention shift, right? One of the intentions that I'm shifting is I have a much deeper desire for intimacy than I do sex. I love having sex. I do. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's playful. It's a creative expression. And one of the things that my therapist mentioned to me as well was, do you feel more productive when you're having sex, or do you feel more productive when you're not having sex? And this is an interesting question because on one hand, all right, when I am consistently having sex, or when I do have a consistent sex partner, and like I have that continuous outlet for relief and release, and this is also a form of self-care to be able to have sex. I'm freed up from having to put energy into seeking it out. So because I'm not looking for sex, I'm able to focus the time that I would spend looking for and trying to get sex into my creative outlets. Whereas, if I'm not sexually active, I think that, like, more often than not, I'm not sexually active. I'm gonna be real about that. Like, yes, I have sexual partners, and I genuinely say this. I am not having nearly as much sex as I want to be having. But maybe that's what my body needs. My body doesn't need to have the frequency of sex that I think I want. And, if we ask myself why I think I want that, again, going back to just giving my body away, am I also giving away my creativity? When I am sexually active consistently, am I sharing, exchanging reciprocal energy that is creative to where my work uh, thrives more? Or when I am deprived, is there a buildup of that creativity, creative energy for me to be able to express through investments into myself? And what I mean by investments into myself, I mean like now, all of this stuff that I've been able to do with my body. Like I've been in Portland for a month and a half, 6 weeks, and I've been able to cook. I'm not going on dates like that. I'm cooking my food. I'm weighing my food. I'm putting the time into that. I'm not going out. I'm not drinking. I went out for Halloween weekend, but that was the last time I went out. That's the only time I really went out. And in this time of focusing on these things, my body's needs, and even, there's something else that has called me to begin meditating more, just different situations. Um, and there's a lot of examples that I have from over the last few weeks, but um, so much of my work, so much of what I do just has, I recognize I've been ignoring. I've been ignoring my body. I've been ignoring, what I need. And I've been ignoring, like, accepting and looking at my body and looking at the progression of my mind, you know? But going back to the intimacy thing, I've written down my existing partners' relationships, and next to each name, I was able to like write something down and about the relationship, because I think I'm recognizing what my bandwidth is and my capacity for relationships, and part of that might be changing because of my emotional investment in like a particular person. Um, and wanting to build there and create more from there. And as I wrote down the names of my other partners, and like next to them writing down things like consistent, or a, like accepting, real, or inconsistent, or not serious, or dating me until they found or find someone to be monogamous with. As I write down these kinds of things and look at it in front of me, I'm seeing real clearly where to continue to invest energy, where to invest more energy, and where to also like cut off these avenues. Not cut off, let me not say that, but recognize where that kind of intimacy and connection that I want, it's not available to me. And I have viewed or used sex as a tool to obtain the feeling that I want from intimacy. And sometimes the sex that I have is a roadblock to intimacy, because in therapy, what happened, one of the things that we spoke about was I'm in pursuit of intimacy, but will settle for sex. And that that mindset has turned into me believing that if I can't get intimacy, then I don't want sex. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's bullshit. Because I try and do this thing where it's either or, all or nothing. And that's not the case. I can, and I have had very healthy sexual relationships that have been fun, fulfilling, nourishing, and like just revitalizing to me, that didn't come with that intimacy. Like maybe even the potential capacity might have been there, but through that kind of sex, I think that I have, in fact, gotten maybe not the intimacy need met, but there's been a thing that happened in my body or in my energy where it was like, damn, this was like, it was like playing. It's just, that's it. It was just playing. Not just playing. I don't want to devalue the power of play, but sparking that creativity in another way, and talking to somebody the way that you talk to them and touching them in that way and feeling good and sharing that good feeling. It's play. It can be play if that's what you want it to be. And so I went from making this list like, all right, who I need to cut off, who I need to cut off. But, energy is finite. Yes, or infinite. Energy is infinite, but there's only 24 hours in a day, right? And so a shift in expectations has needed to occur. Probably for a while now, to be completely honest. But I didn't recognize that until these meditations, and recognizing how touch deprived I am, and the importance of not how many relationships that I have or can hold space for, but the quality of the relationships. The quantity of relationships is not nearly as it's not nourishing to me as the quality of relationships. And there have been a handful of things that sparked me thinking about this as well. But I have partners who have been in the picture for years, and I don't know that they call me a partner, right? It feels like perhaps uh, they just waiting on me to die out or like fall to the wayside. Not die out, like literally, but I mean, to just fall off. And that's not something I want. I really don't want that. I don't want to, like, the relationships that I have and have built and created. It's really hard to make friends. It's really hard to develop intimacy because a lot of people, while they desire it, are very afraid of it. We live in a world where people have such a strong desire for intimacy, y'all. Yet they can't initiate an invitation for it, and they can't reciprocate it, and they just might not be available for it. So to me, it has definitely become, quality over quantity, because again, I was looking for that emotional connection through physical sex, rather than recognizing that you can have sex, you can have emotional connection and intimacy, you can also have both. Everything is and. It's not but. I've used but so much, thinking that I'm doing something, but all I'm really doing is just depriving myself. And when I think about, oh, there I go again. The word deprivation was the one that activated my body. it's not just the word touch, it's touch and deprivation. And so much of my life has been deprivation. I've deprived my body of things that it had needed and would ask for. I've deprived my mind, my soul from stillness and my own thoughts, my own thoughts, my own needs and desires. I thought that sex has been such a priority not because that's what I wanted, but because I thought that that was the only way to really get what I wanted. And that's how people connect. And with that intention shift, y'all, so many good things have come in. But I also see that as more of this good comes in, there's bad that comes with it. And I know I said, I want to get rid of the either or, all or nothing mentality, duality, or whatever, but that's the reality of it. There have been many good experiences that I've been having lately, but there's also been like a very noticeably higher quality of bad things, of bad people making their way into. And I'm using bad just as an easy way of communicating it, just because yeah, it's just easy that way. But relationship wise, I found myself in contact with somebody that I do, in fact, want to invest in more, invest emotionally into more. And that relationship has made me start to look at other relationships and be like, okay, well, I'm going to now have to let people know, because with this shift of emotional availability, I would much rather intentionally and consciously let somebody know, like, yo, here's where I'm at, than them sense it and have to guess or maybe find out, because that also frees me up, because transparency is a value of mine. And so being able to be transparent and also see like how other people feel, I have people who would be excited about that, people who would be jealous or feel threatened by that. And I think that it's important to lay that out there and be real, be transparent about where I'm at. And it's a difficult thing because, again, not everybody can handle that emotional vulnerability or availability. But it's not about other people, it's about Courtney. And I need that transparency in order to continue on in whatever type of relationship I'm in, or whatever person, I'm seeing or with, um, people, person, whatever. Uh, but just to give some examples, for Halloween weekend, perfect example. I went out with some friends, and I went out, and it was like 4 different rooms with different DJs at a place. It's in Portland. And I was dressed up. I was dressed up as Jax from Mortal Kombat. I had like a Shah on my body and some silver gloves. It was gray. It was Shah, of course, because gray is my favorite color. And I ain't had no shirt on. I had my dog tags, black jeans. And I'm walking around, and I'm like, again, feeling myself. When we first got to the party, it was freezing. So after a while, I warmed up. I took my shirt off. I remember this lady gave me a compliment. She said, "Oh my God, look at that back. Oh, that back." And I was in line at the bathroom. I always get hit on in line at the bathroom. It never fails. If I'm out and, there's a bathroom, it happens, right? I just told her thank you. I went in and I had to pee, and then I came back out. And yeah, just like hit my little two-step. I don't really dance for real. I just hit my little two-step to the music. And then me and my buddy that I went out with, we were walking, and this lady stops us, and she has an accent. I don't know where the accent is from. I just know she doesn't sound like she's from here, and she looked like she was a black lady. And so she stops us, and I'm like, oh shoot, I never, like, this never happens to me. Like, all right, what's up? So she was like, oh my God, she said, I love your energy. You are so powerful. Oh, I got the accent right. That's how she sounds. I could not get the accent right when I was telling this story to other people. And so she said, I have somebody you have to meet. So she grabbed my friend's hand. My friend, like, he in a relationship. And so I like switched. I hurried up and threw my hand in there and took one for the team. Not took one for the team because I didn't know what she looked like. She had a mask on. And so we walking off, and uh, she she was like, "This is my friend," and it was a guy, and I was like, "Oh, I see what this is now." And so me and him were talking for a second, and then he was like, "Hey, so are you into men?" I was like, "Nah, I'm sorry, man, I'm not." I was like, "I'm into women," and so he was like, "Oh, okay," and we talked for a little bit longer, and then ended up just like parting ways. And I like went to the water fountain or something later, and we stumbled into each other. And he was like, "Hey, I really respect how I like, thank you for turning me down the way you did." I was like, "Oh, no problem. Like people, it's what did I say? I don't really remember everything that I said, but I was just like, I respect you shooting your shot. Like, it is what it is." And so I was like, it's a brave thing. I've experienced rejection enough to know, like, it sucks when you put yourself out there and you get rejected for a variety of reasons. And he was speaking about like his experience as a gay man, and like connecting with men being so challenging. I was like, man, look, I was like, I have no problem connecting with you because I feel that. It's like it's very difficult to develop intimacy with men. And again, I told you, like, my intention shift has been to have more intimacy in my life, and that intimacy can show up in ways that aren't exclusively sexual. So I meet this man, and this gay man, and he's telling me about like his experience as a gay man with gay men, and it's much more sexual, or like there's a sexual undertone of it so often. And then with straight dudes all think that you want to fuck them. And I was like, man, that must be really hard. Like, I'm sorry to hear that, because like I know it's just hard to make friends in general, but when you genuinely have a desire to just connect and have intimacy with other people that reflect your life experiences or identities, it's always going to, it feels rejecting or objectifying even when people just limit you to this part of yourself. And so we exchanged numbers, and I guess the lady who introduced us was around and saw. And again, like she made that comment about me being powerful, or me being like love, having really good energy and being kind. She was like, she said, "I can feel it." I was like, "Where are you from?" Well, first I was eating it up. I was like, "Oh yeah, tell me more." I was like, "Tell me more about this," because I didn't tell her what I do. it, I don't know. It's not the first time someone's like stopped me and talked to me about like my energy or my intention or something that's just not physical. Something about Courtney. Courtney loves non-physical compliments. I know that I have a fitter body, more athletic body. I know I have a nice smile. I know that my shoulders are nice. I know things about my sex. I know these things. But if you really want to get me going, tell me something I can't see. Tell me about something I can't see. Give me one of those compliments. And she got me, y'all. And yeah, she got me. And so we at this party, and she's like saying these things about me and doesn't know anything about me. I've not told her what I do. I've not told her what my intentions are. I've not told her any of this stuff. She just like saw me talking to this gay dude, me, a straight black man, talking to this gay white man, and I guess like the body language or something said some things. And so after the conversation, she introduced me to a couple more people. I said what's up to them or whatever. And then a little bit of time passes, and they invite me to go after party at with them at whose ever house. And so I, of course, let some people know where I was going because this was one of the car rides. It was like a 20-minute car ride. And in Portland, you drive 20 minutes and, you end up somewhere where it's a little difficult to get an Uber back. And so we riding and I see like bus lines. I'm like, okay, I'll be able to leave here at least in the morning. So we good. And so go to the house, a really nice house, and one of the guys that I met there, this was somebody I just like said hi to because I was introduced to the woman he was with and just wanted to be respectful, which I'm so glad I did because it was his house. And so I'm there and I'm just talking to the guy, the gay guy. I don't want to say his name. And he's now asking me questions about what I do. And he's like, yeah, you seem like what tell me about yourself. Like, what do you do? Like, I'm sensing this from you, like good energy. I was like, damn. All right, well, I'll do this thing. And then I told him, and the woman was listening as well. She's like, I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. And uh and this is wild, y'all. This is wild. This probably needs to be a something positive for positive people story as well, because he mentioned having had herpes zoster, the one that you get. Is it mono or strep throat? I always mix the two up, but like getting that almost chronically, and the only things that's helped him were like changing up his diet. He doesn't eat a lot of dairy and a couple of other things. And so I mentioned, I was like, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast. Ooh, I can just tell the story when I interview him. I do need to text him and make sure that we can still do that. But yeah. And the woman eventually, she didn't say anything right away, but she eventually told me that she has herpes as well. And I was like, no way. And also, she took her mask off. And also, I saw her in the light, y'all. Y'all, cold. Like, cold. She cold. I had no idea. And I'm just like talking to her with her mask on and not really like looking at her body or anything. But we eventually went to the hot tub and I saw it. I was like, oh shit. I was like, yo, she stacked and pretty. Come to find out the accent is I don't know how much I want to say. South American, let's say that. And if you guess, you'll be right, I'm sure. There's like two main ones that you would probably guess. But anyway, I'm in a hot tub and the guy who owns the house and the other woman I was introduced to, they're there, the gay guy and then the South American woman. And we're just having some really great conversations led by the other woman who was there. She was just like, what's something that's like a turn off for you? What's something that's like, and non-sexually, not just sexually, but just like speaking about communication and talking about just like the intimacy stuff, the emotional connection stuff. And I've recognized like the way my sex drive works. One of my friends told me, he was like, oh, your attraction works like a woman in terms of like being demisexual. Don't get me wrong, like don't get it twisted. I'm kinky too. I actually just took that erotic blueprint quiz and I went from a tie between energetic and shapeshifter and everything else being low to kinky actually being like my highest one. I was very surprised at this change over the years, but I also took that like 5 to 7 years ago. So yeah, apparently like now I'm a demisexual kinky motherfucker, y'all. But I also like I picked up the ropes hobby. I've been going to classes and finding more things that I'm interested in and I like. But yeah, this connectedness was just happening and I recognized like as I was talking to the South American woman in the hot tub more, like we were getting closer and like getting a little more physical touchy, And I would not, I think that she was looking for me to look at her body. And I just wasn't. I was just looking her in her eyes. We were talking. It's like, yeah, you're talking to me. I'm looking in your eyes. Yeah, your titties floating up under your chin in here, but like I'm looking you in your eyes. And I think that that might have done something um, in terms of like increasing the attraction. And so again, like I'm having these emotionally charged and connected conversations. And I'm sorry, I can't remember more of what was said just because it was like at this point last weekend and it was like 5 a.m. But we ended up leaving and we all part ways. Me, the South American woman, and the gay dude took an Uber together, and we just went to her place. He Ubered somewhere else, and I was just waiting on the bus. But she and I hung out more, and we just like talked. And I had this moment, and I don't want to. We didn't have sex, and this is what was so interesting is that we spent the next like 2.5 hours just like talking and connecting and you know in past like relationships that I've been in or had, this is what my partners were afraid of. And yet now I'm at a point in life where I've so clearly and intentionally been able to communicate that this is something that's important to me, that now I'm able to call it in without any shame, without any guilt, without thinking, oh my, someone's gonna be threatened. And it's not sex, it's this intimacy that has historically been a threat to my partners in relationships that I've been in the past. And again, we're just talking, and I'm able to learn more from her about like what she sees, how she sees me, because I don't experience that often. I mean, it happens, but I don't ever go into detail. People say it and I kind of like brush it off. But between that lady last Halloween, oh my God, it was a year ago on Halloween, where this woman said to me, she was like, you have a long, your path is not an easy one. In fact, it's not even a path at all. It's, just yours. She said, I share the load, and put her hand on my shoulder. And then she walked off. And she knew nothing about me up to introduce herself to me and start doing that. In fact, I was wondering for a second if it was even the same lady, but it was the same kind of situation. It was a black woman with her white husband. And I remember like he didn't really like us talking, and that's when we like separated. But she found me later and said that to me, and now here we are, a Halloween party later, right? The whole next year Halloween, where someone says this to me, then, and I recognize like this is that time of year where I get weird emotionally because my grandmother, my dad's mom, her funeral was on my 13th birthday, and I remember just how I felt with people in my family singing fucking happy birthday. I mean, my grandma just got buried. Like, and not only that, but this is a grandma who, the way that I've put the story together, kept my mom from getting an abortion with me. And not that my mom wanted or that my mom even told me whether or not she wanted it, but it was her parents who, were like ashamed of their teenage daughter being pregnant and were like, hey, you need to get an abortion or whatever. That's how I interpreted it. And so I have very, very, very big and strong emotions around this time of year. And I think that perhaps that calls in, maybe like my grandma's spirit or something, and she speaks to these people. Because it's never like it's like a calming thing, where I feel, that if we want to get really deep into some shit without me working backwards too far, I think at the core of it, that's why I feel like I have to prove my right to be here. Like I have to prove myself, my right. I have to prove my value and that I have a right to be here and that I have significance here. And that's like where my work comes from. And I won't I won't stop. Like it's been so hard for me to prioritize myself, probably because of this. And with this time of year, being that is my birthday. My birthday is November 10th. I'm recording this on November 4th. I noticed that I get weird about 2 to 3 weeks before my birthday. And then I realize, oh, my birthday's coming up. That's what it is. But yeah, the story that I've gathered from talking to people is that, my mom, my grandmother kept my mom from wanting to get an abortion, or kept my mom safe from her parents so that they didn't get an abortion. And here I am, like I'm here. And, excuse me, I haven't quite reconciled that, and nor have I really like said this out loud to many people, just like the people who need to know. And I think I really just say, hey, I get weird around my birthday, and that's just a thing. But last year, this year, these things happen, and maybe it's my grandma. Like maybe it's her just like popping up on me energetically and being like, yo, you good. But I recognize how much that has it's shaped the way that I do things, and the way that I like prioritize everything but me to get validation that I deserve to be here. And so this intention shift to not just that I deserve to be here, but that I'm thriving here. It's really drawn in, people who are giving me this validation and sense of self-empowerment that I don't need to prove that I need to be here. I just need to fucking be here, and that's enough. And the reason I'm saying this is because I've hung out with this lady from South America a couple more times, and we've not had sex. And like she gave me a massage and like rubbed this particular area on my foot. Like just to give you an idea, she's in the field of body work, let's say that. So she rubs my foot with a lot of pressure in this one spot, and I screamed, like primal roar scream, and she kept going. And I had to stop her. This was intense. I was really about to cry. And I'm learning about like bodies and where trauma is stored and everything. And she told me, she was like, yeah, you have a bunch of nerve endings here that stem from that connect to your lower back. And so she's like rubbing that, and I'm like screaming. I'm roaring. And I'm familiar enough with having gotten my yoga teacher training that sometimes in yoga poses, you might just cry, and that there's emotions and trauma that's stored in certain parts of the body. And again, when you don't listen to your body gonna remember everything. If you ain't listening to your body, maybe you're disassociating with behaviors, maybe drinking or sex or drugs, right? But for me, not doing the drinking thing, I'm not gonna say I don't do drugs, but I don't do drugs enough to say that I don't do drugs, even if I, do a thing here and there. But I don't do drugs. And so I've been working on really being present in myself, my time, my body. And it's like she just knows where to go, or knew where to go, because she went to these spots in my shoulders. And like I work out, so I have general soreness, but she touches certain areas and I'm like, ah. And she's like, oh yeah. She's like, we got to get these knots out. Like this is, it has like a spiritual significance. And this is kind of like my equivalent of needing to cry because of the stored trauma in my body. And it doesn't seem like it's from exercising. I'm getting knots from exercising. I'm getting knots from not paying attention to my body. I'm getting knots from not expressing myself, from not expressing, oh God, from not expressing myself. But anyways, like yeah, seeing this beautiful woman 3 times. And don't get me wrong, sexual attraction is there. Yet I value the intimacy so much that I don't think I even want to have sex. Cause I asked her too, like after she did this thing for my foot, and I notice it, and it feels different. Like it hurt like a motherfucker. Um, like walking on it and for a couple days, but like it's good now. And I mean, she wasn't done. Don't get me wrong. Like it still needs to. It's gonna be a process getting that unbundled. But I asked her, I was like, hey, what does that mean? Like I know that there's spiritual significance in the body, and she said, support. She's like, you don't feel supported. You do all this supporting to everybody else, and I just kind of melted. I was like, wow, dude, you fucking see me. You fucking see me. And I do see people so well, so beautifully. And I don't get that back often. And I used to think that because a person would have sex with me, that it means that they see me. But they've seen who I want them to see. And wow, like that's kind of heavy. And I guess that's why I'm so like, this is some new shit coming up right now. I ain't gonna say repulsed by people who find me physically attractive and express like interest sexually exclusively for that, but it's like this has increased my threshold. This experience has really increased my threshold, like consciously. Like I know that my threshold for who and what I find attractive has increased significantly, especially since attending that conference, Sex Down South. But like to have heard this, from somebody who she don't know me, y'all. There's motherfuckers that listen to my podcast weekly, and there's a few people who I know see me, but these are things that can't be really acted on. But this woman I met one time and hung out with 2 other times at this point, for her to say, just say this, like you aren't supported. She didn't say you feel like you're not supported. She said you're not. And that just made me think, like I don't feel supported by my family. I don't really feel supported by friends. I have like, people in my life who root for me, and that's great. Yet I I cannot fuck up. And I recognize that, and I know that, and like I don't say that out loud, but that's the thing. I cannot fuck up because of how not supported I am. And I can say that, maybe that's my fault because I'm valuing my freedom and the fun that I have, but I'm not necessarily taking care of business, long-term investing, in what would give me that support, a support system, you know. I'm not emotionally supported is essentially like what she was saying. And again, like partially because of my choosing. I'm choosing not to, but when I try to emotionally connect with people, I've failed. I have failed tremendously in my attempts to emotionally connect with other people to the point where it's like I'm better off just shutting up. I'm better off just wearing this mask. And lately, this isn't true lately. Again, I'm emotionally invested in somebody, and I've been making an effort to communicate my emotions, but not doing so in a way that's not processed. She says I can bring my unprocessed emotions to her, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I should do that because like I know that it's gotten me in trouble in the past, y'all. It's really gotten me in trouble in the past, and maybe, this is also something that I'm holding on to. It's not just not being supported, but it's my own shit of not meeting the need of allowing myself to be supported. That's a big fucking realization, y'all. That's a big realization because it's not just what's happening, it's also my interpretation of what's happening. And then it's also my involvement of what's happening or lack thereof. So, in me not asking for, what I need, in me not putting myself around people and in positions and environments to be able to get what I need. And me not making a space to listen to my body and hear what it is that I need. I'm not getting what I need. I'm not getting my needs met. And it's not like I'm feeling this thing or this pain in my back. The pain is, I don't feel the pain. And you know what? Like, she made a comment. She was like, yeah, you used to it. Ooh, I'm finna cry thinking about this shit. But being used to carrying this weight, she said. Like, and the most beautiful part of this is that I asked her, I was like, hey, you have, enlightened me in a way. Like, you've come into my life and you've seen me, you've said things, you've touched me, and I'm touch deprived Courtney, like, giving me these massages. You've like done this healing for me. You have been healing me. And I asked her, I was like, what can I do? Like, what am I doing for you? Like, what can I do for you? How you talk about me not feeling supported? Like, how do I make you feel supported? How can I make you feel supported? She sent me this voice message in response, and she just was like, hey, I really appreciate you asking me. She said in her accent, though, like a sexy ass accent. She said all of that, and then she goes, you are an emotionally intelligent man, black man, and you communicate well, and you're emotionally available, and that in itself is really healing for me. She said that. This woman just said my presence was enough. This woman said you are enough for me. This woman said that, like, just me as I am in the ways that I present myself is enough. I don't have to perform shit. I don't have to put a mask on. I don't have to be something I'm not. I am receiving the thing that I set my intention on, just intimacy in so many different outlets, from the conversation to the physical touch to the presence. Non-sexual, like, it's not sexual. I'm not having sex with this woman. And I get so much healing because me being myself, me being me, is just enough. And for this to come at this time of year, where it's my birthday coming up, and not just is it my birthday coming up, but it's also like, this is an emotionally charged time of year for me. And I think about my grandma. Like, I really do. I think about, how would I have been born? Who would have birthed me? What would I have looked like? What would my life path have been if I wasn't fucking fighting every day to just tell the world I belong here? My grandma gone. I can't tell her, and I probably, can, but physically here on earth, I can't tell my grandma, hey, I did it. Thank you. You got me here, and you got me here to touch all these people and to make this impact on so many people, to touch so many lives. If it wasn't for her, you know, what would herpes support look like? What would a lot of the people who I've crossed paths with who have said thank you, who've expressed suicide and ideation, and I, even just as I sit here and think through this, is, I say this: life's about what happens through you, not to you. And when I speak, I often speak for and on behalf of other people, and it's very rare that I speak for myself or from my own experiences, or put my own emotion into shit. But just, and I think every year, I think I did better. I think I healed a little bit. I think I made my grandma proud, and it's funny because my mom's alive. My mom's parents are alive, and I think that I might carry a little bit of resentment towards them, just knowing that like they didn't want me here. Like I'm actively proving a point to them, and they don't even see it. Like most of the work that I do is on the internet and social media. My grandma, she watched my Instagram stories. My grandpa ain't no goddamn social media. You know, these are people who have raised me. They're responsible for me being here, but I know that I carry some resentment towards them. Perhaps even a little bit of resentment towards my mom for even thinking about aborting me, right? And a lot of people don't know this. I have thoughts about abortion, but it's not, I get it. It's not my place, right? And when, I remember I had someone I was really close to, a partner who, when the Roe versus Wade stuff came up, she was like, "You need to say something about this." I was like, "You really don't want me to say anything about this?" And and this is just from my experience. Like, I ain't feeling nobody make me feel bad for having my thoughts and experiences, and I have before. It's like, I'm supposed to be this way, but that's not what my life experience is. Like, there's something that really fucking bothers me. And it bothers me around this time of year. Every fucking year since my grandma died, I've just gotten weird. And over the last 4 years, 5 years maybe, I've recognized that that's a thing. I've recognized that I get weird around my birthday. I don't like motherfuckers singing happy birthday to me because of how the funeral was. Ooh, the funeral's happy birthday is burned into my mind. What the living room looked like, I can tell you who was sitting or standing where. I could tell you that I was just frozen in that moment in time. But I'm a grown ass man now. I'm a grown ass man who has been actually healing. I'm a grown ass man now with responsibilities. I'm a grown ass man now with, a thing going on. Like, I have a thing happening. And I'm tired of being run subconsciously by this fucking belief of not being good enough. I'm tired of being run subconsciously by this attempt to prove to my mom's parents and even my mom that I deserve to fucking be here. And I'm tired of that shit. And I guess I didn't realize how tired I was until somebody had to come along and tell me, "Hey man, this weight you carry is not fucking normal. You don't need to carry this weight. Let this shit go." And I guess I'm just numb to the soreness because I don't feel anything until pressure's on it, or until it's pressed or being moved. And I've gotten used to it to the point where it's stuck. Now it's a part of me. My pain has become a fucking part of me. And I'm very much looking forward to, seeing her again, because we talked about it now consciously, and me not feeling supported, me not feeling like I deserve to be here. And maybe this is something that I need to say to her. I think that that's what I'll do. I'll tell her, like, okay, here it is. And it feels safe to do that. Like, I don't normally feel safe to go into these places. I talk about the stars talk, right? And discussing your sexual health status and talking about moving forward with somebody sexually, the safety thing. I always talk about how important the relationship intention is, and I talk about how important safety is for me. It's not physical safety alone. Like, I can take care of myself. I mentioned social safety about my presentation as a black man who's larger, and like a more threatening and intimidating body. But safety for me, emotional safety, to be able to say these vulnerable ass things to a person, like, this is easy right now because I'm talking. I'm just talking. Ain't nobody receiving this right now. And nobody is able to take anything from this right now. Like, I'm putting this out here, and I'm just doing it. And this is my thing. This is like journaling for me. I did journal, and so these thoughts that I'm sharing have been, up until, talking about certain things that were newly said, processed for the most part. But I don't think I've ever, verbalized, like, how my feelings are towards, the people who raised me. Like, y'all motherfuckers ain't even want me here. And yeah, they raised me and took care of me, which is like, it kind of, there's a trade off there, right? So on one hand, y'all didn't want me here, but y'all did what y'all needed to do to have me here, keep me here, and get me to a point where, I can say, all right, here I am, right? So yeah, I can't say all sets, but I still have my feelings about it. And I think that's okay. What's not okay, though, is me seeking the approval of these motherfuckers. Now, I just called my mom and grandparents motherfuckers. That's real, though. It's real. Um, so, yes. All of that, all of that processing, right? And that's what self is. That's what self is about. Reflect, process, you know, take what you need and go on, because I definitely got more than what I thought I needed out of talking to this, and I don't even think I covered everything I wanted to say, but there's enough here to, work from if you're someone who's having your own reflections and learning to prioritize yourself and learning the importance of that, because it is a big fucking deal. You are a big fucking deal. You are here. I'm here, right? And let's let ourselves feel supported, because that's what I'm working on. I'm actively working on that, through this body work and through my own self work. All right. That concludes this episode of Self. Whew. Damn, 68 minutes. It's early, y'all. I woke up at like 2 o'clock this morning. Yeah, I woke up at 2 a.m. I fell asleep at like 9. So I got that little 5 hours of sleep. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and edit out that name I said and then upload this thing. All right, peace.